Just staying on this kind of trend of advice and education for people that may be coming up in the system, what advice do you have for young girls and women who might be thinking, number one, who might be thinking of entering the industry, or number two, who might currently be struggling with their time in the industry?
One thing that's honestly helped me, I know that it's been about 5 years now since I've competed, but something that I've learned just being in an industry that is male dominated still today, trying to go into law,
Law.
get a
Yep.
law degree. One thing that I keep telling myself is that your future self will thank you. And in the Miss America organization, anyone who has passed through as either Miss Alabama or just a local contestant who maybe never won that title or had that opportunity at that moment, I've never had anyone come up to me and said, "Man, I regret even getting into this, that this has not changed my life whatsoever," whether that is they gain scholarship money just from showing up to Miss Alabama, even if they don't place or do anything. And then, as I've told you about our community service initiative and helping people with the service initiative that you create, that I think is so important. Or if you're someone like me who loves to perform and you think this will be a great outlet for me to get out there and to even embrace my talent even more for people to see me. So I would say to those who maybe feel nervous or getting into this organization, and and you definitely probably will have those moments of doubt, to never forget that your future self probably will definitely thank you later for all the hard work that you're putting into yourself now, that you're competing with yourself to make yourself better and not with others. And to also remember that it's your own journey and that everyone's journey is different. And regardless where you end up, whether that's at the end of the day going to Miss America, winning your state title or not, that you are who you are, and that's all you need to be great in this world.
Love it. Great job. So you're very close, very close. We talked about it earlier, less than a year of completing your journey with education as well. So tell us about your path in schooling so far. You talked about, or I said doctorate in law, and just a huge accomplishment. But what steps did you take to get to here, and why law?
Well, first, had to finish up my undergraduate degree and get my bachelor's. So I was really happy to accomplish that. I got my bachelor's from the University of Alabama in political science and history. And I've been one, honestly, I've always loved politics. I've always loved the news. I've always loved history. I've always loved being informed. And I
Same.
always feel like you can never not learn enough. That just isn't a thing. You can always learn more and more and always just be a well rounded person. And I gained a lot of that from just competing at such a young age because we had to always keep up with current events. But that was something, honestly, that came naturally to me. And that's one of the things. The news is always on at my house all the time, just in the background. And I love listening now to podcasts that really inform you about things that are happening, whether it's politically or about the economy or things that are happening culturally. I love learning more. And I wouldn't call myself a historian, but I love history because I am a firm believer that history can repeat itself. But if you don't know the history, then you don't know when it's going to
Hmm.
repeat itself
That's right.
or when it has. And so that was a big drive in wanting to go to law school because I knew that I could continue my passion with not only learning more, because I think, especially now going to law school, there are so many laws out there that we don't know that we should, even if you're not in law school, to protect yourself. And I think that's very important. And I'm so glad that I'm having this opportunity of privilege where I get to walk into the law school every day and to gain all this knowledge that I promise to go out. And I've been trying to teach my family and tell my family and friends about the little laws that I learn every day that we don't know that can really harm us. So that's been a big blessing in my life. But also, I want to make a difference in other people's lives, and I want to fight for people who can't fight for themselves at the moment or are going through their vulnerable moments, because a lot of times when you're walking through the office, going to a lawyer to speak with a lawyer, you are going through some of your toughest moments in life. And so I've been really blessed this summer to work at a personal injury firm. And so it's been really great fighting for those who end up getting in serious, horrible accidents. And you're fighting up against these big companies that aren't willing to help you out or to give you any leeway. And so I love, this is a quote that I've learned with working in this area of law, that we're working for the small guy who cannot fight for themselves.
Mhm.
And we're going to fight for them and give them the fair shot that these other big companies, corporations that may have more money might and are taking advantage of. So I'm
So
living that out
you mentioned you're
currently.
interning at a law firm. I'm going to mention that it is an all-woman law firm as well,
Yes,
correct?
it is. And
That's
that, oh my
amazing. I
gosh,
love
it's been
that.
great. Yes.
That's great. So you've talked a few times about your community service activism, and I kept looking at you, and I was thinking maybe she's thinking I'm not going to mention that. That's very
No.
important to me too, but I like to talk about that kind of stuff at the end. So
Okay.
you've received national attention and awards, and just extensive volunteer work in charitable organizations. You've mentioned what organization it was that you work for. If you could tell us again what it is, and again, tell us the background behind why you chose this specific field of activism. I know you mentioned your mom and your uncle, I think, right?
Yes. So, for those of you that didn't hear the first time, because I just gave you a little glimpse, my community service, and it's still something that I work with today, is the National Psoriasis Foundation. And at the time, I was Miss Alabama, and throughout my whole pageant career, that was my community service. Psoriasis Take Action Alabama, where I had my own support group here in the state of Alabama, where I was helping those who suffer with psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. And the whole reason for wanting to choose this particularly as my community service initiative was because of my mother and uncle that both suffer with both psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis, and all the different misinformation that has been out there about, oh, it's just a simple rash. It's something that can go away with just going to Walgreens or CVS and you'll be fine. But they don't realize the other comorbidities that can come with psoriasis, as well as the link between the joint pain with psoriatic arthritis. And it is something that is rare when people do end up having both psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis, but it's something that my mother has and still has today. And unfortunately, even though there are other biologic medications out on the market right now that are helping a lot of people who suffer with psoriasis to have a more normal active life, there is not a cure. And so my biggest mission right now is to try to continue to work and support the National Psoriasis Foundation and to fundraise so we can really do more research and to eventually find a cure, because I know if we are able to find a cure for psoriasis, there will be so many other autoimmune diseases that we will
Mm.
also be able to cure. So that's been my biggest mission right now.
And I hate the stigmas attached with autoimmune disorders. It's not just with psoriasis, but there are others as well, and it's almost like invisible killers, and nobody wants to put any time or effort into them because everything can be kind of masked as something else. And you mentioned that,
Right.
and so yeah, I love the work that you're doing.